To begin today's practice, I'm going to step onto about the middle of the mat. If you have an extra mat, you can roll that up, which we'll be using later on, and sit on that, or you can use a block or a pillow. As you settle down, bring one ankle in front of the other in Svadisthana, allowing the knees to release below the front hips. Draw the flesh of your butt cheeks out so you feel you're on your sits bones more than your tailbone. And then when you find that lordosis, that curve in your low back, feel how that allows the rest of the spine to lengthen upwards through its natural curves. Bringing the hands today into Apana Mudra. So you're connecting the middle two fingers together with the thumb, either your thumb on top of the nails or connected to the pads. Lengthen through the outer two fingers and through your elbows, creating long lines, long channels through the arms and through the spine. Your palms can face up or down, whichever works best for you. This gesture in the hands is kind of like Spider-Man's gesture when he's releasing his webbing. So what we're doing here with this detoxifying breath and mudra, or symbol in the hands, is releasing our own cobwebs, letting go of what no longer serves. We're working with Satali Pranayama, cooling breath. So curl your tongue or make a small mouth and stick your tongue through. And then inhale through your tongue and exhale through your nose without changing your tongue or your mouth. Once you get a sense of the breathing and the mudra in the hands, and you don't need to look outwards, take your gaze inwards. Turn your focus inwards and upwards towards the third eye point, Ajna chakra, between the brows. As you find your rhythm, as you slow down into breathing in through your tongue like it's a straw, slowly and steadily, and breathing out through your nose, take your attention to the exhales. Focus on the physical letting go, emptying the lungs. Right towards the end of the exhale, draw your belly back towards your spine, keeping your spine lifted, the back of your skull lifted and back, and your sternum lifted in front. In addition to the physical letting go on the exhale, mentally or emotionally release what no longer serves without getting too caught up in thinking about this process. Just take the opportunity to let go, to empty out. Like spring cleaning, we're clearing room. So perhaps there are ways of thinking or patterns of behavior that no longer serve you that you can release here with each exhale. Not only extending out through the exhale in the nose, but in your mind's eye, extending out through the arms and through the outer two fingers, like you're shooting out your cobwebs. So we're clearing room for the fresh, for what we consciously desire to cultivate. Now begin to notice the inhales. Is there any more room for the breath to come in after your clearing out process, after your complete exhales? What is it you would like to draw in? What quality or energy or way of being would you like to plant? This practice is called sowing seeds. So imagine that as you inhale, you're planting intentionally a seed for yourself, for this practice or for this day, for this lifetime. You're filling yourself with the inhale to your very edges with that quality, that way of being. If you find with this detoxifying breath, Satali Pranayama, which helps to cool your temperature as well as your temper, that your tongue dries out, you can keep going, or if it's too much creating a dry cough. Then re-moisten your tongue and begin again. As you draw your tongue back in, notice the taste. Release your hands from Apana Mudra and bring them together at your heart in Atmanjali Mudra. Shifting into Ujjayi Pranayam, taking that slow, steady breath you were just doing, but shifting into breathing in and out through your nose, hearing the sound in your throat. And we tune in with the Adi mantra, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Taking a breath in for the first of 3. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. As you inhale, lift your arms up overhead, and as you exhale, reach out wide, stretch back, opening through your shoulders, allowing your breath to move your arms here. So inhaling up, exhaling back, getting a stretch across your chest, feeling the lengthening through your waist and the opening through your ribs, and taking one more circle. As you release on this exhale, bring yourself off your rolled mat and down onto your back. I'm going to take that rolled mat and fold it in half and bring it to the upper top of the thighs, right next to the pubic bones. Once you find where your rolled mat or your block or your pillow is set, then bring your interlaced fingers behind your head and lengthen your legs up easily so there's not a lot of struggle or shaking, but then start to energize your feet so it looks like you have high heels on, pressing the balls of your feet up and drawing your toes back. Get a sense of your ocean-sounding breath if you lost it in that transition. And feeling the breath in the belly, lift your head up gently so you're not yanking on your neck. Look at your breath in your belly now. Moving into yogi lifts with the rolled mat. Inhale, pause, pull your belly down, and then exhale and pull your belly deeper, curl your tailbone up towards the rolled mat, squeeze your thighs in towards the rolled mat, and then lengthen up through your legs and spread your 10 toes out. Soften, take a break on the inhale. Jaw relaxed. Pause, pull your belly down, and then exhale. Pull your belly deeper, curl your tailbone up, squeeze your thighs towards each other, lengthen up through your legs, spread your 10 toes out. We're doing just 2 more. Inhale, soften, check you're not pulling your neck, and then pull your belly down. Exhale, curl tailbone up, squeeze thighs together, lengthen legs, spread your 10 toes out. One last one. Keeping space between your top and bottom teeth. As you exhale and you lengthen up through your legs and you squeeze your legs together, thighs and ankles together, at the very end of the exhale, pull your belly a little deeper. And then release down and take a little break, letting your head rest in your hands. As you breathe deeply into your belly, noticing the energy that you've brought into the core, reconnect with the seed that you're planting in today's practice. And think of planting it deep in your belly as we come into these last two, this variation of yogi lifts. This next time that you inhale, bring your legs up, energize your feet, and then lift your head up easily. And as you come up, relace your fingers so you have the other thumb on top. And then pull your elbows up towards the level of your knees so your shoulder blades come up off the ground. Doing just two here. Inhale, belly open. Pull down, exhale, pull deeper, lengthen up, spread your toes out. And then soften on the inhale. Take a little break. Exhale, pull the belly down. Curl tailbone up, squeeze your thighs together, lengthen up and out through your legs, and pull your elbows up towards your knees, shoulder blades off the ground. And then take that in. As you come back down, release your arms, keep the rolled mat, bring your feet down just beyond your bum. Look at your knees and adjust your knees so they're in line with your front hips. And you might need to move the rolled mat so that your knees can align with your front hips. Feel free to move it lower, closer towards your knees. Get a sense of your ankles being underneath your knees. Lift your 10 toe tips and then lift your forearms so your fingertips point up towards the ceiling, elbows right next to your ribs. As you inhale, press your shoulders and your elbows into the ground, lift your sternum, and as you exhale, curl your tailbone up to the rolled mat, just like you did in the yogi lifts. And then continue with this process. Inhale, lift your sternum, press your shoulders and your elbows down. Exhale, curl your tailbone up towards the rolled mat, lengthening your low back, pushing the ground away with the soles of your feet, particularly pressing big toe balls into the ground so that your knees stay aligned over your ankles. You're coming up progressively as opposed to coming up and down. So each inhale, reiterate the lift of the chest, shoulders pressing down so you create a tunnel for your neck. Each exhale, lengthen your low back, drawing low belly in and up, pushing the ground away with your feet. When you get up to your highest place where you can breathe, release your hands down and walk your shoulders underneath you so that you create more of a tunnel for your neck. You take your neck bones off the ground. And then whatever's on the ground, aside from your head, use that to push the ground away. Little fingers, elbows, shoulders, inhale, sternum up. Exhale, lengthen through your low back and push the ground away with your feet, rolling knees in towards each other. Finding your bridge, Setu Bandhasana. Next time you exhale, release your shoulders out wide, bring your arms out, roll your spine down, release your toes and lift your heels so that you can roll your low back into the ground. Now, once you come all the way down, release your knees out to the side, soles of your feet together, and you may want to rest that rolled mat on your pelvis or your thighs. If not, just put it off to the side. If this feels too intense to have your knees open, then tuck into a small ball and take that in. Breathe that in. Notice how you feel. Because your inner thighs have just done a bit of work. As you release out of this, bring your hands underneath your knees, draw your knees in towards each other, help them back up into center, and tuck into a small ball. Getting a sense of your pelvis, your inner thighs, breathing deep into them, and then moving into rocking and rolling on your back. This should feel good, like a good massage for your back. So if rolling along the length doesn't feel smart for you, then stay with rocking side to side or just circling your knees, massaging your sacrum. If you're moving along the length of your spine, make sure you don't put pressure on your neck and see if you can balance on your sits bones when you come up. If it feels good, rock and roll along the sides, along the right and then along the left, getting a sense of what you feel on each side of your spine. If you're rocking on each side, come back to center, and this next time you inhale, lift yourself up onto your feet for Kundalini frogs, leaping frogs, bringing your feet into a V shape and coming to about the middle of the mat so you have room for the next few things. Check to see if you can touch the ground when your legs are long, and if that's the case, then bring your heels together up off the ground. Inhale as you lift your hips up, and exhale as you bring your hips down and lift your head and your heart up, opening your knees out over your toes, using your hands for balance, so find the place where they need to be to help you balance and to help clear your heart space as you come down on the exhale. Inhale, lift up, hips up, head down. Exhale, hips down, head up. Finding a dynamic breath through your nose, so you'll hear the sound of the breath more in the nose than in the throat. Inhaling up, exhaling down. If your heels are together off the ground, they remain together off the ground throughout the movement. Now that you have a sense of the movement, see if you can move a little bit more dynamically and still retain the precision and the alignment, and begin to count the movement. Inhale up, exhale down being 1. In this next minute, see how many, just out of curiosity, you do. In your practice, I encourage you to move towards doing your age +1. So as you get older, you get stronger. But don't sacrifice quality for quantity. Make sure you're staying aligned and safe, particularly if you have knee issues. As you continue, it gets more intense. You start to feel more weight coming into your hands. Draw the strength up through your legs. Think of pulling energy up out of the earth into your hips on the inhale, and then exhale, sliding down and letting it float up to the heart and the head. This next time that you exhale and come down, pause. And then as you inhale, lift your hips up, bring your feet parallel, and hang over. Find where it feels right for your hamstrings and your low back, so feel free to bend your knees deeply if you have any issues or fear there. If your hands touch the ground, you want to go deeper, hold opposite elbows. Check that your head is not holding everything together by allowing it to shake or nod. Feeling that release up your spine and beginning to breathe a little deeper, a little slower and deeper. So you're integrating what you've just done dynamically in frogs, slowing the breath down. I'm going to transition into stretching out the front of the thighs, the quadriceps that just engaged in those frogs. So if you're comfortable on your toes, then come back, staying on your toes, bringing your weight back into your hands. If this doesn't work, be on your shins instead. Find where your knees align with your front hips, so your thighs are parallel to each other, just like earlier in bridge pose. And then lift your butt up away from your heels and tuck your tail towards your knees until you feel that stretch in your quadriceps and it's breathable, so you're not clenching your jaw. Look at your pelvis and see if you can draw your pubic bones up, your front hip bones up. If you want to release your head back, feel free, but keep your mind on your pelvis. And this next time that you inhale, lift up and come forward into table, stretching your fingers out, lifting your wrist and your thumb in one hand as you take the weight in the other, stretching where the fingers connect to the palm of the hand. When you release your hand down and stretch the other hand, spread your fingers out wide. Find wide triangles between your fingers. When you have both palms planted down, the base of the fingers pressing down, move your spine with your breath, rolling into cat and cow. Exhaling, pushing the ground away with the base of your fingers, the front of your shins and your ankles, arching your back up towards the sky. As you inhale, roll from your tailbone up to your head. Check that you can clear your shoulder blades back away from your neck, so you're drawing your heart forward between your upper arms. Moving between these two, finding a pace that feels good, a sense of stretching out along your spine into your hips and shoulders. This next time that you inhale, come to neutral, to table position, and curl your toes under, shifting your weight back onto your feet. Check your feet are roughly fist width apart, and then uncurl to standing, checking you have mid-toes aligned with ankles, knees, and front hips. So your feet are in mountain Tadasana stance. As you lift your head, roll your shoulders up and back. Focus your eyes on a point to help you anchor in space. As you find your central channel of lifting up through your ankles and your inner thighs, shift your weight over to your left foot. Turn your right toes and right knee out. If you want more support, bring your right foot just inside your ankle with your toes on the ground. Otherwise, you can come up higher to the inner calf or the inner thigh, but don't place your right foot against your inner left knee. So above or below your knee. When you find the place where your foot is going to rest, first we're establishing the standing leg, the opening leg, and then bring your hands, once you have your legs set, bring your hands to your front hips so you can feel the front hip bones with your fingertips. And play with bringing the right front hip down and forward and the right knee back at the same time. So notice how that right hip is up and back from the left one. See if you can align them like headlights, more level with the floor and facing straight ahead without sinking into your outer left hip. So strong energy on your inner left thigh. So now we have this energy, this root system underneath through the leg, through the hips, through the core. From that, extend your arms upwards. Or keep your hands at your hips. The arms are an extension of what's established underneath as opposed to trying to hold everything up. So if you're scrunched up through your shoulders or tense through your jaw, bring your hands back down. Next time that you exhale, release your arms and then your foot. And reset your mountain stance. So look down and see your feet. See that the midline of your feet are parallel to each other. Once you've seen that, lift your head, close your eyes, roll your shoulder blades onto your back, and take in the energy of that left leg. Notice the heat, the energy, the sense of expansion in your foot and your calf. Think of breathing that, circulating that energy towards your seed, where you want it to go. See if you can keep your eyes closed as you shift your weight into your right foot. Spread your toes, your roots and your toes, lift your inner arch, your inner thigh, and then turn your left toes and knee out to the side, finding where your weight is on your right foot. Your left foot is now hovering. Take your gaze outwards if you haven't already. Focus on a point to help anchor you in space. And as you set your left foot inside your right leg, trust that it might be different than where it was on the other side, as long as it's not against the inner right knee. Once you find your foot set, then bring your hands to your front hips and play with bringing your left hip down and forward and at the same time your left knee back. Feel that your right knee is not locked. You're lifting up through the quadricep muscle, not locking your knee back. And when you start to find where you can take your left hip down and forward and your left knee back at the same time, lift up through your core, your stem, to open out of all that opening in your hips. And then if you want, take your arms out and up, extend up through your branches. As you lengthen through your elbows and through your fingers, spreading your fingers out, release down through your shoulders. Imagine your arms are connected to your waist instead of to your neck. Give it one more inhale, and then as you exhale, release your arms out and down and reset yourself in mountain pose One more time, let your eyes close once you've seen your feet, and take that in. Notice the energy that you just stirred up in your right foot, your right leg. If you had planted a seed at the beginning, think of taking the energy that you've created in that right foot and leg and directing it towards you where you want it to go. Let your eyes open and check your feet again. Make sure that they're parallel. Bend your knees slightly, looking to see that your knees align over your middle toes so you can see your big toes inside your kneecaps. We're rolling into ragdoll from here. So start with your back broad as though it's against a wall. Back of your head, shoulder blades, some of your low back, but particularly your butt, against that imaginary wall. And then start by releasing your head as though it's weighted. And let your head peel away from the wall, letting your arms hang. Breath by breath, let your spine peel away from that imaginary wall. So keeping a little tuck in your belly until all that's left is your pelvis, your sacrum or your butt cheeks against the wall. When you find that release, if your hips are not already higher, think of walking your butt cheeks up the wall and hanging from there, hanging from your sits bones, letting your spine release down. If your hands touch the ground, you want to go into a deeper inversion, hold opposite elbows, checking that your head isn't holding tight by shaking and nodding your head. And this next time that you exhale, release your hands down and shift yourself down into child, but we're going to take this into a wide child. Walk your knees out to the edges or maybe even off the edges of the mat. Depends on the stretch that you're feeling on your inner thighs, so find where that feels good. And then use your hands in front like we've done before in extended child to push the ground away. Walk your hips back over your heels. Breathe into your low back. And as you find the lengthening in the low back, the set of your knees, then either rest your head on your hands or on the ground and focus your breath into your low back. A few more rounds, breathing deep into your hips and your thighs, noticing what this practice has stirred up there. And then let go of the breath. Allow it to release into its own natural rhythm. Allowing yourself to settle and to take in what you've done. As you continue to rest here, I'll read you a bit of a poem by Rumi called The Seed Market. Can you find another market like this, where with your one rose you can buy hundreds of rose gardens, where for one seed get a whole wilderness, for one weak breath a divine wind? You've been fearful of being absorbed in the ground or drawn up by the air. Now your water bead lets go and drops into the ocean where it came from. It no longer has the form it had, but it's still water. The essence is the same. This giving up is not a repenting, it's a deep honoring of yourself. Bring your attention into your breath, breathing into yourself more fully, more deeply. Unfold your hands if they're under your head and push the ground away to come upright slowly. Walking your legs back towards each other gently. And coming onto your feet and into Kundalini frogs, leaping frogs. Bring your feet into a V shape, the inner legs together. If you can't reach the ground when your legs are long, kneecaps are lifted, use a block to bridge the gap. So priority is lengthening the legs. If you're using a block, your heels are on the ground on your inhale, and then when you exhale and come down, opening your knees outside your arms, your heels will peel off the ground. Inhale to lift your hips up, release your head down. Exhale, release your hips down, lift your head up. You're zipping your legs together as you draw up without locking your knees. Taking these first few ones slow and steady, And then once you get a sense of the logistics and your legs are beginning to warm up, go a bit more dynamically, but without sacrificing quality or precision. And begin to count. See how many frogs you can do well in 1 minute. If you've done them more than once since the last round, you'll find they're getting easier as you get stronger, and you can get closer to doing your age +1 if you're not already there. Hearing the breath more in your nose than in your throat as you pick up the pace. Minimizing the weight in your hands, using your hands for balance. Last one. Exhale and release down. Put the block off to the side if you're using it. You're going to keep the knees angled out wide and the toes curled under as you bring your hands behind you and move into your quadricep stretch. If being on the balls of your feet is too much for your toes, then be on your shins instead. Once you have your weight in your hands, lift your butt up away from your heels and tuck your tail forward towards your knees. Look at your pelvis, draw your pubic bones up towards your belly button, drawing them up more level with your front hip bones, checking that your front hip bones are level left to right. If you want to take this deeper, stretch your knees farther forward, or lean back if you're on your shins. Breathe as though you're breathing into your thighs. And then release, soften a little bit so you can realign your knees in front of your front hips, thighs parallel. This might be a little bit more intense than the last one. Same awareness in your pelvis, same focus of breathing into your thighs. And push off with your hands, and as you bring yourself onto your feet, check that your feet are mountain stance underneath you. Keep your knees bent once you have your feet set, and uncurl to standing. Double checking that your knees are aligned over mid-toes before you uncurl your head. And then broaden your shoulders onto your back. Look outwards or downwards without dropping your chin down, and focus your eyes on a point to help your balance. Get a sense of lifting through that inner channel, inner arch, inner thighs, right up through the spine. As you find that sense of an inner channel, I'll give you a quote for tree today, which is, "If we surrendered to Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees." In this variation of Vrikshasana, as you bring your weight to your left foot, check that your knees are okay with this. Stick with the first variation of foot inside your leg if you have any issues with your knees. If you want to play with this, draw your right foot up towards the front of your left thigh and hold it with your left hand. Engage the ball of your right foot to help protect your knee, and be sure your left kneecap, your standing leg knee, is lifted, not locked. If your foot will stay at the front of your thigh and you want to play with taking one or both of your arms up, you can bring your hands together at your heart or extend your arms overhead like branches. Finding the lift and the length from your left foot through your left leg, the opening of your hips as you release your right knee down, the lift up through your belly, and then extending out through your branches. Use your next exhale to release your arms down and then your foot down as gracefully as you can. Come back into Tadasana, mountain stance. Double check the alignment of your feet. And then lift your head, close your eyes, and take in the energy of that left leg. Perhaps distributing it, directing it where you'd like it to go. Lift up through that central channel, taking in that sense of that quote by Rainer Maria Rilke of surrendering to Earth's intelligence so that we can rise up rooted like trees. Find your root system in both feet, and then begin to shift your way into your right foot. Continue to lift up out of that inner channel, and either bring your left foot to your inner leg if that's smarter for your knee, or bring the outer edge of your left foot up to the front of your right thigh. You can hold it with your hand, or if you have your right thigh engaged and the ball of your left foot engaged, they might stay together, and you can take your hands either to your heart or up overhead. See if you can get a sense of pressing down through the root system in your right heel, the sole of your foot, your toes, and drawing up from there, rebounding up from there through your leg, lifting your kneecap, your low belly. And if your arms are extended up overhead, lengthening out through your elbows and your fingers without shrugging your shoulders up. Giving yourself another breath to rise up, to lengthen, to lift. Use your next exhale to release your arms out and down, and then your foot, your leg. As you reset your mountain stance, Tadasana, close your eyes again once you've seen your feet, and take in the energy that you've created in that right foot. Swirl it towards your intention, your seed. Reconnecting with the flow of your breath. If it got lost while you were balancing, find your breathing. If your eyes have been closed, open your eyes and step your feet wide as though you're on train tracks. So you're in that same parallel mountain stance, but wide, however wide works for your sense of balance. And then lift your toe tips, all 10 toe tips up, lifting your inner arches up and your kneecaps up. And then bring your hands up to the back of your head and lift your skull up towards the sky. And let your shoulders settle down away from your neck onto your back. Keep your hands there as you begin to circle your hips, getting a sense of the relationship between the movement, the flow of the hips, and how the head wants to follow that movement. So use your hands to help keep your head still and steady. And once you have a sense of your head staying in place as you find the circle of your hips, then bring your hands down onto your front hips, getting a sense of the movement of your front hip bones. So feeling how those front hip bones, left to right, may or may not be moving forward to the same degree. And if you have a sense of tightness on one side of your body, you might feel it here. Continue to breathe smoothly, evenly. And once you find a sense of what the hips are doing, the muscles in and around the hips to create this flow, then bring your hands into rabbit paws. So you're letting your hands hang from your forearms, elbows bent by your sides, which helps your shoulders broaden and your hands relax. If you feel balanced, try closing your eyes and bringing your attention inwards to the sound of your breath. Flow is one of our key words in today's practice. So finding the flow of the breath, the fluidity of the breath, and also the fluid flowing movement of the hips as they circle. You might find that if there's an area that feels less than circular, you want to connect your inhale into that area. Somewhere in the next breath or so, change the direction and see how that feels. You may want to bring your hands to your hips and notice any sensations in the muscles there, in your front hips, your outer hips. Seems like it would be the same thing going the other way, and yet notice, is there any difference in what you feel in this whole hip plexus? We think of the hips as just the outer hips, but see if you can feel how much is coming to meet in this area. You have the inner, outer, front and back of the thighs, the buttocks, the low back, the pelvic floor, and the low belly, all coming to meet here. And then also noticing this movement and how much it radiates down and up. In these last few breaths, as you continue to circle, if your eyes are not already closed, close your eyes if you can, if you feel balanced. And I invite you to play here as though you are some strange creature and this is your mating dance. You are luring your mate in through this movement, so make it sexy and seductive. Think of a sense of magnetism, of drawing towards you what you desire. Notice if you have any tightening in your jaw or your teeth or your shoulders or your mind around those ideas of sexiness and seductiveness. See if you can play in here, keeping the breath fluid. And this next time that you circle around, release to center. Let your arms lengthen down, your knees bend, and check the distance between your feet. You may want to walk in a little narrower or wider or turn your toes out, depending on what feels best for your knees. You're coming into a martial arts horse stance and feeling the bones, the skeleton of your legs holding you up, so that for a moment you can soften the muscles in the thighs, the buttocks, the belly, the low back, and allow yourself to stand without tightening through that whole hip area. This next time that you inhale, open your eyes if they're closed. Turn your right foot forward, your left heel back, and release down into high lunge. Finding your high lunge where your left leg is long, your hips are about level with your right knee is over your ankle, so that then once you ease your way down into low lunge, your right knee stays over your ankle. Check your distance left to right and front to back with your feet so that you find you're not on a tightrope, left to right, and you have that distance front to back where your right knee stays over your ankle, doesn't go past it for the safety of your knee. Use your hands here to help ease your way into the opening of the front of the left thigh, quadricep, psoas muscles. If it works for your knee, uncurl your toes. You may need to support that back knee with pillow or blanket. Taking your awareness into your left thigh. You may also feel it in the top of your right. If you're not feeling the front of the left, see if you can feel your little left toenail on the ground and roll your outer hip forward slightly. Again, if it's too much, you're not breathing, push with your hands. If you have any issues with your knees, especially that front knee, lift your right toes and think of pressing the floor away with the ball of your foot instead of sinking into your knee joint. If you haven't already lifted your toes, lift them now. Feel how that lifts your inner arch. Align your hand where your right arm and your knee press together. Press your knee into your arm, push back with your arm, and then find your breathing on your left side. So feel with your left hand, your left ribs expanding. As you inhale, lift your elbow and your shoulder up, opening your rib cage, and as you exhale, release down through your hips. Notice the relationship here, one of our key words in Svadisthana. Notice the relationship between the left shoulder and rib cage opening and the right knee and the left hip. The right knee wants to roll inwards and the left hip wants to lift upwards. So as you open your left shoulder on the inhale, exhale and press your right knee into your arm and release your left hip down. Once you get a sense of all of that, if you want, take your left arm up. Find the distance between your hands, your wingspan, your shoulder blades broad on your back. Keeping your left wrist and your elbow long, so you're drawing back with your ribs instead of with your wrist. And then if you can, if you feel balanced, let your head release down, focusing your breath into that whole open left side. Left hip, waist, shoulder, and neck. Give that one more inhale, and as you exhale, release your left arm down, and then we're going to take a funny little inchworm movement forward so you don't end up yanking your left thigh back into action. Curl your left toes under and push the ground away with your left toes to bring your knee forward, and then curl your toes under, bring your knee forward, inch by inch, 3 or 4 steps, until you draw your left thigh in by your right and come into standing tuck. Bring your hands behind your heels, elbows behind your calves if you can. Bend your knees deeply enough that you can rest, compress your chest onto your thighs. And with your head dropped down, look down to see that your feet are parallel, mid-toes align. Keep your chest connected to your thighs. Use the strength of your arms to do that. And if you want to go deeper, lift your sits bones up away from your heels. Let your head release down, but your shoulders connect to your back. If you're holding tight with your head, nod or shake and release your head out. One more inhale to lift your hips up, and then use your exhale to step back into high lunge on the left. So your right foot steps back. Align your left knee over your ankle, your hips about level with your left knee, and lengthen your right leg. Bring your hands back by your left heel to clear your shoulders back. Give that a breath or so to find the length, and then ease your way down into low lunge. Use your hands to scaffold, to push the ground away so you're not sinking too quickly into the intensity of that right thigh. If it's too much, push with your hands. If you want to go deeper, use your exhale to sink your hips down. Taking the outer right hip slightly forward so you feel the little right toenail on the ground, unless you need to keep your toes curled under for the safety of your knee. And then breathing as though you're breathing down into that right thigh. Inhale, contact the sensation, and then exhale, see if you can sink into the pull of gravity a little bit more. If you don't already have your left toes lifted for the safety of your left knee, lift them now. So you feel that foot on the ground. You're pressing the ground away with the ball of your foot. And then bring your left hand, fingertips or palm down or onto a block, wherever your arm and your leg align and your shoulders are clear from your neck. Press your left knee into your arm, push back with your arm, feeling your arch stays lifted, and then feel your breath on your right ribs. Opening up through the right ribs, the right shoulder. Notice how the right hip wants to follow, and as you exhale, let your hip drop down and forward so you feel your little right toenail on the ground. And if you want, take your arm up, extending up through your right hand. Push the ground away with your left hand or fingertips so you're not sinking. That left shoulder stays open. Find the distance between your hands. Take your eyes to a point on the ground or opposite you where you can focus, and then release your head if you can. Let your left ear drop towards your left knee. Bringing your breath into that whole open right side, breathing all the way up bravely into the right side of your neck and your shoulder, jaw relaxed. Keeping your left knee pressing into your arm, left arch lifted, toes lifted on that left foot, so you're aware of your foundation. And that way you can release your head. You can take your head out of it when you have your foundation set. Get that one more inhale. As you exhale, release your right hand down. Come onto your fingertips, curl your right toes under, and inch your right knee forward. And then do that again 2 or 3 more times until you bring yourself into standing tuck. Drawing your feet into mountain stance. keeping your chest connected to your thighs, hands behind heels, elbows behind calves. Let your head release down and either hang here, or if you want to take it a little deeper, lift your sits bones up. Letting your head release, breathing into the upper backs of the thighs. Now that we've opened the upper front, so those low lunges, find the upper backs where your hamstrings connect to your sits bones, and breathing as though you can connect the breath there. One more inhale, slow breath. Use your exhale to transition to facing off the side edge of the mat. So you're stepping your right foot back and turning to face the side, coming into your train track feet again. Keeping your fingertips on the ground. And then lift your toe tips up and your kneecaps up and ease your way very slowly over towards the right by bending your right knee. Taking your time to come into your inner left thigh. Don't drop down quickly into it. Find where you feel that inner left thigh. Look over your left foot and see your left arch lifted and your left kneecap lifted. And notice if you took any of those actions, the difference that makes in the stretch in your inner thigh. Bringing your shoulders up level with your hips, so you're more a tabletop than a slide. Stretching the top of your head away from your tail. Breathing as though you can breathe into that inner left thigh. Using your hands like scaffold, so push the ground away until you can feel the strength of the bent right leg and of the core. Finding a little less weight in your hands if you can. Next time you exhale, push off with your right foot and ease your way over towards the left, coming into the side lunge on the left. Finding the stretch on your inner right thigh. Double check your right arch is lifted, right kneecap lifted, and that your shoulders are in line with your hips. So you're not down level with your thighs or your knees. You're making a tabletop with your back. And see if you can feel what's happening in your pelvis here. If you tilt your tailbone up towards the sky, how that changes the stretch on your inner thighs. Slow, steady breath, feeding into the stretch on your inner thigh. Lighten some of the weight out of your hands so that you're supporting more through your legs and your core. And then taking very slow movement side to side. So you exhale to transit, inhale to inhabit the posture. Use the whole exhale to find the fullness of the posture. So then you're there and ready to breathe into what you feel. Taking one more side to side, very slow. It's a stealthy movement, minimizing weight in your hands, but of course using your hands to support if that helps you be in the intensity of the stretch. This next time that you're over at the left thigh, you're going to turn and transition through left lunge into modified down dog. As you step your left foot back, check that your toes line up left to right. You have about a fist width distance between your feet. Double check your hands line up, your fingers are spread out. Plant the base of your fingers down, and then modified down dog. So lift your heels, bend your knees, and just like we did with standing, tuck at the front edge of the mat. See if you can bring your belly and your chest towards your thighs and tilt your sits bones up away from your heels. As you find that tilt of your tail upwards, keep your pelvis stable and steady, and then stretch your heels down, going very slowly so you can feel the place where your tailbone, your sits bones want to follow. Playing at that edge, feeling the lordosis, the curve in your low back, perhaps also feeling how your shoulders want to do it, so keeping your shoulders broad. Your ears between your arms, taking your turtle action of pulling your head out of your shell, out of your shoulders, and taking the top of your head towards your hands. The next time that you inhale, lift your right leg up and back, coming into three-legged down dog, actively drawing back through the ball of your foot, through the strength of that right leg to take weight out of your right hand, and feeling the left thigh draw back as well so that your left waist stays long and you feel less weight in your left hand. Next time that you exhale, tuck your right knee underneath, coming into full one-legged plank. So you're keeping your left knee off the ground if you can. Draw your right knee up towards your ribs and yet bring your hips a little lower towards the ground and broaden your shoulders. Look forward slightly. Bring some hope into it by taking your gaze up. Find a long line from your back heel to your head. And next exhale, push off with your back toes and bring your right knee onto your right thumb. If you don't reach that far forward, then bring your hands back. And if you can, open your right foot out towards your left hand, so you're deepening that stretch in your right hip, but adjust for the safety of your knee and the breathability of that stretch in your outer hip. Push the ground away with your hands and draw yourself up taller, scaffold up so that you can lengthen and draw out. Finding where you can rest your head on your fists or your hands, and then easing your hips into deeper opening by taking them side to side. Keeping the ball of your right foot engaged to protect your right knee, and if it works for your back knee, keeping the ball of your left foot, your toes curled under. Bring yourself back to center, draw your hands back underneath, draw your belly up from underneath, and lengthen back through your back heel and out through the top of your head. And as you come up, scaffold up onto your fingertips, so you're lifting your hips up higher so you can draw your low belly in and up, stabilize your low back, and then ease your way down into greater opening in the hips. If you feel confident here and can take some weight out of the hands and keep the yang energy in the legs and the core, then bring your hands either onto your knee, your front knee, or if you feel even more confident, bring them into yoga mudra behind you, interlacing your fingers, drawing your chest open without overarching your low back, so strong belly. If you have your hands behind you and you want to go to the next step of Raja Kapotasana, King Pigeon, then bend your left knee, hold on to the front of your foot, and use that foot pressing into your hand to open your left shoulder, to draw that left shoulder open. Keep strong belly lifted up so you don't strain through your low back. Bringing your right hand and arm out in front if you're in this full pigeon pose. Strong energy through both feet, pressing the floor away with your right foot, pressing into the left hand with your left foot. Next time you exhale, fold down, transition up and back into shaking out that right leg. And then as you stabilize your left foot and align your hands, move into flipper. Taking your right leg up as high as it'll go without pulling your left knee into the midline or your left shoulder up and out. So taking your underarms back evenly. As you release your foot and continue to lead up with your knee and open your thigh, breathe. Next time you inhale, lengthen back and release into modified down dog again. Stabilizing your root system in your hands and your feet so you're even left to right. And then bend your knees, lift your heels, tilt your tail up. Keeping your front hips folded into the front of your thighs, your sits bones tilted up, then stretch your heels down. Taking a breath up from your hands to your hips, lengthening and exhaling through your legs, from your hips to your heels. Next time you inhale, lengthen your left leg up and back, coming into three-legged down dog, drawing both legs back so your waist stay even, keeping your shoulders broad on your back, feeling the stretch through that right leg as you lengthen and lift through the left. Give that one more inhale. And next time you exhale, come into one-legged plank. If possible, keep your back knee off the ground, tucking your front knee up off the ground, pulling it up into your ribs, into your chest. Broaden your shoulders. Find a long line from your right heel through to the top of your head. Breathe. You're almost there. Developing core strength. And this next time that you exhale, push off with your right toes, shift forward and bring your left knee on top of your left thumb if you can, or at least as wide as your front hip. If you can open your left foot more towards your right hand and deepen the stretch, great, but be mindful of your knee. Engage through the balls of both feet, lift up to lengthen through your low belly, and then lengthen out, drawing out and releasing your head down and rocking your hips side to side, finding where you feel a deeper opening Even though you're releasing your upper body, keep your feet engaged, especially the ball of the left foot. Taking your breath into what you're feeling in your hips. Bring yourself back to center so you can feel you're centered on the ball of your right foot, between the big toe and the little toe, and on the right knee. Draw your belly in and up and bring your hands back under your shoulders and traction forward, lengthen out as you come up. And then as you start to emerge upright, scaffold up with your arms so that you come up higher and can lift your low belly into your low back. Keep that engagement and then ease down, opening front of right thigh, outer left. If you feel confident there, you can take weight out of your hands, bring your hands onto your left knee. It's the closest place. You can always bring them back to the floor if you need. If you want to go from here, then bring your hands into Yoga Mudra, interlacing fingers, drawing shoulder blades towards each other behind you. And as you open your chest, keep your belly lifted strong so you don't overarch your low back. Feet strong as well. And then if you want to go into Raja Kapotasana, bend your right knee, hold onto your right foot with your right hand, and let that energy between your hand and your foot open and lift your upper right chest, keeping your belly strong. And then expressing through the left hand, through the left arm, creating a gesture of lightness and opening. So if you don't feel that, then bring your hands back down and support yourself more. Next time you exhale, release down and push the ground away, lift up with your belly, transition up and back, shake your left leg out. Resetting your right foot in line with your right front hip, hands in line with each other. Spread your fingers out wide so you have good root system in your hands. Your shoulders broad on your back. Take your left leg up as high as it will go and then flip it. Drop your foot towards your right butt cheek and continue to lead up with your knee, with your thigh, keeping your right knee aligned over the middle of your toes, your shoulders even. Give that a breath to open through your thigh. And then next inhale, lengthen back. And as you exhale, come forward like you're going to come into Kapotasana again, but instead release by pushing the floor away with your right hand and bringing your legs out wide, facing off the side edge of the mat. Coming into wide angle posture, Upavista Konasana. Only take your feet as wide as your toes and your kneecaps point up. So if they're rolling back, bring your legs a little bit narrower. Draw the flesh of your butt cheeks out so that you're more on your sits bones than your tailbone. We're going to use the same system of scaffolding with the arms. So use your hands behind you to push the ground away. Find where you get that lordosis, that curve through your low back to help you lift up onto your pelvis. And then exhale and push the ground away with your legs, pressing down through the tops of your thighs and out through the soles of your feet. Inhale, lift up through your spine, lifting your sternum. Exhale, press down through your legs. And see if you can then start to take some weight out of your hands by substituting what the arms are doing with what the legs and the core are doing. If you feel like you can sit up tall without losing your low back, without collapsing through the low back, great. If the integrity of your low back means that you lean back, great. Our priority is that low back curve. If you end up coming upright or forwards, you can bring your hands inside your legs, in which case use your hands the way that we do in squat pose, where you draw your chest up, your shoulder blades onto your back by leveraging your hands inside your legs. Keep checking your low back. Use your hands to find out what's happening in your low back. Exhaling, pressing the floor away with your legs, pressing out through your active feet. Inhaling, drawing long from your tail up through your sternum and the back of your skull. If you're folded forward or leaning back, next time you inhale, bring yourself upright, soften your feet and your legs, and use your right hand to gather up your right leg as you bring it around, facing off the short end of the mat. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. If you have any issues with your knees or you just find this is easier, you can keep this left leg long. If it feels like it will work for you, give it a try to roll to the outer left thigh, bend your left knee, and tuck your left foot in towards your right butt cheek, but not so much that you're sitting on it. Make sure that your right butt cheek is firmly planted and your heel is just outside. Engage through the underfoot, the ball of the left foot, to help protect that knee. And then bring your right hand a little bit more centered in towards your spine, like you have a fantail. The wrist right in next to the sacrum, fingers out. You might even be up on fingertips. Use your inhale to push the ground away, to lift up through your sternum. And use your exhale to draw your belly around towards your right hip. So the twist is coming from your core strength. Inhale, push the ground away, lift up. Exhale, draw your belly around. Do that one more breath. When you get to this farthest point, if it works for your hip, if you want to take this deeper, you can start drawing your top knee in towards you with your left hand. But feel how that creates a curve through your low back. So prioritize the integrity of the low back. Let your knee go to wherever it needs to so that your low back stays long in its natural curve. And then see if you can release your head towards your right shoulder. So right ear towards your right shoulder, or your nose or your chin towards your shoulder, if that feels a little bit more breathable. Even though you've released your head, keep the structure underneath. So push the ground away with your right hand, lift up through your sternum, both shoulders on your back, so that when you draw around, you're drawing your rib cage around and not just pulling your left shoulder off your back. Relax your jaw. Use your next exhale to change the angle and release your head down. Keeping your head relaxed, inhale your right arm up, come around, and then ease back into your hands. And reset your left foot, your underfoot, taking it a little bit farther forward. Engage through both feet to protect both knees. So you're setting your knee above your ankle on the right and your ankle above your knee on the left. And just like we did in the last couple of postures, use your hands to push the ground away to find the curve of your low back, which may mean that you need to lean back if you're honest with your spine. If you're a bit more flexible here, you can sit up tall, maybe even bring your hands forward onto your top knee and ankle. If you find that you're that open and you have your hands on your top leg, you can draw your sternum up with the strength of your arms, but don't abuse that. Exhaling, and if you're folding forward, do it from your hip joints instead of rounding from your spine. Make sure that you can breathe into this. See if you can feel that both sits bones are evenly planted on the ground. And when you find the place that you can breathe, give it one more inhale. If you're leaning back or leaning forward, use your next inhale to lift up, ease back into your hands, and then gently unwind your legs. Take your time here and either windshield wiper them side to side or shake them out. Find what feels good. Keep your breath flowing. And we'll move into that twist Matsyendrasana on the other side. So cross your left ankle just above your right knee on your thigh. And again, feel free to keep this right leg long if that works best for you. If it works for you to have both knees bent, then lean into your right thigh, bend your right knee, and tuck your foot in towards your left butt cheek, but not so much that you sit on it. Engage through the ball of your right foot. Check that you're even on your sits bones. You might need to draw the flesh of your butt out. And then push the ground away with your hands, feeling you're more up on your sits bones than back on your tailbone. And when you get that, bring your left hand right into center. You might need to be on fingertips or have your elbow bent so that your shoulder is broad on your back. Rest your right hand on your left knee. Inhale, lift your sternum up, and then exhale, draw your belly button around towards your left hip. And then again, inhale, push the ground away, draw up, and exhale, draw your belly button around towards your left hip. And feel how just that action takes you deeper into your left hip. One more breath in this way. Inhale, push the ground away with your left hand, lift up through the length of your spine. Exhale, draw your belly around towards your left hip. And keeping both shoulder blades on your back. If you want to play with drawing your top knee, your left knee in towards you, feel with your left hand behind you how your low back wants to round, and prioritize that low back. So only bending and drawing your knee in to the extent that your low back doesn't collapse. When you get to the farthest place that's going to work for you, where you can breathe into that intensity in your hips, where you can be true to yourself, Then let your head release. So you're releasing your left ear towards your left shoulder. Lifting the breath all the way up into the right side of your neck, checking that you can breathe into that and keep your jaw and tongue relaxed. So feel free to change the angle of your head if you need to. Even though your head's released, keep the lift underneath. Next time you exhale, let your head roll forward. Give that a breath. And then release your head down. Lift your left arm up as you inhale. Ease back into your hands. And take a slow transition. So you're walking your right foot forward. Bring the sole of that right foot to square off the long edge of the mat. And then do the same with the left foot. So you have the four corners of both feet squaring off the long edges of the mat. Push the ground away with your hands. Lift your sternum up. Find the curve in your low back, which may mean that you need to lean back. Be honest with yourself. We're practicing here with coming home to oneself, Svadisthana, one's own home, one's own sweetness. So find where it's sweet for you, where you can breathe. If that means that you can sit up tall and take weight out of the hands, be sure you have your feet engaged, your core engaged to support that opening in the hips. And if you're folding forward at all, double check with your low back that you're not rounding towards the back edge of the mat. That you're finding the lift from your sits bones, the pivot from your hips. Get a sense of breathing all the way down into your hip joints as though you could. This next time that you inhale, if you're leaning forward, bring yourself upright. If you're leaning back, stay there. Gently unwind your legs, take them out long, and either windshield wiper your legs or shake them, see what feels good. Noticing what you're feeling, what you've opened in that area. We're going to bring the legs around and underneath and come up onto knees, hands and knees, coming up onto your fingertips. And then we're going to take a funky little duck walk, crossing one thigh over in front of the other, walking your hands forward, and when you get towards the front edge of the mat, then start moving back. Bring yourself to about the middle of the mat with your right thigh in front, and then open your feet out towards the edges of the mat, so that when you ease your way back, using your arm strength to help you, you're sitting between your heels and not on them. You may need to sit on a block. It's really important here that your knees are safe. So feel free to sit up on a blanket or a block or two blocks so that your knees are safe. And to help support your knees, engage through the balls of your feet, both feet. Push the ground away with your hands behind you, finding that curve through your low back. And then bring your arms up overhead, palms facing each other, and clear your shoulders down onto your back. Press through the balls of your feet. So again, you're engaging yang through the feet. Bend your right elbow, bring your palm to the back of your neck. And then bend your left elbow and bring your left hand to your right elbow. And very gently draw your right elbow in towards your head. And slide both shoulders down so your left forearm rests on the top of your head. You have space around your neck. Breathing into that right shoulder as well as deep down into the hips. Feet still engaged. This next time that you inhale, lift your left arm up, turn your palm out as you bring it out to the side so it's facing back. And then as you bring your hand behind you, if your fingers don't hook, don't force it. Hold on to your shirt instead, or use the strap if you have one. As you inhale, think of lifting your right elbow up, and as you exhale, think of opening your left shoulder back and releasing your left elbow down. If your low ribs have jutted out in front, tuck them back slightly. And if your head is dropped, lift your chin off your chest. This is called Gomukhasana, which means face of light. So find some lightness here. Next inhale, unwind your arms. Bring them out to the sides and then up overhead, palms facing each other. And then exhale and release your hands back behind you. Lean back and come back up eventually into your duck walk. If you feel confident to lift up from here, push the ground away with your hands, come up onto your knees and walk your way forward and back, stacking your thighs feet out wide. When you get towards the front or the back edge of the mat, then walk your way back towards the middle. Finding where your left thigh is now in front and really wedging the thighs together. Open your feet out towards the edges. Use your arm strength to ease your way back. Usually there's a difference between the two sides, the two hips. You may need a block on this side, even if you didn't need it on the other side. You have your knees stacked, your feet engaged right away to protect the knee joints. Finding where you're on your sits bones, not back on your tailbone, so you might need to draw your butt out. Push the ground away with your hands, check your low back, see if you can find where your spines disappear into the strength of your low back muscles. When you get that, inhale your arms up, palms facing each other, shoulders clear onto your back. And the next time that you exhale, bend your left elbow, bring your palm to the back of your neck. And then bring your right hand to your left elbow and gently draw it in and up, but then slide your shoulders down and settle your right forearm onto the top of your head, lifting your head if your chin's dropped down onto your chest. So remembering that meaning of Gomukhasana, the face of light. So if you feel all dark and coward, lift your head up. And once you find some opening there in your left shoulder, inhale your right arm up long and out to the side. And then bend your elbow and bring your hand up. Don't force it. Be gentle with your shoulder. If you can hook your fingers, great. Otherwise, hold your shirt or a strap. And notice the difference on this side. Usually there's quite a difference between the shoulders and the hips. As you inhale, think of lifting your left elbow up. As you exhale, think of dropping your right shoulder and elbow down, opening the front of that right shoulder back. Finding the openness in your face and in your front body and in your hips. Long, deep breath. This next time that you inhale, unwind your arms, taking them out to the sides and then up overhead. Use your exhale to release your arms out and down. And this time, ease back into your hands. Unwind your legs from here. As you take your legs out in front, windshield wiper them side to side or shake them out. We're now going to release into resting over the bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a rolled mat under your back and stack a pillow over it, or tie a couple of pillows together. You can be creative about how you give yourself a bit of a rest. Set the bolster behind you and then bring the blocks out on either side, but not so close in that they get in the way of the bound angle posture as we come into it, just within reach. And then gather up your legs, bring the soles of your feet together, drop your knees out to the sides, draw the flesh of your bum out so you're on your sits bones. And then use your hands on your ankles to draw yourself up tall as you take your knees up and down in a butterfly action, releasing the hip joints. If this doesn't feel smart for you, then just stay steady and lift tall. Keeping your breath flowing, jaw relaxed, releasing all of the intensity that we've brought into those hip joints. Next time that you inhale, draw yourself up tall, lift your sternum, and then as you exhale, lengthen out over your legs. If possible, let your head release, let your back round. And then inchworm, undulate your spine. So inhale, draw forward, sternum and head, and then exhale and let your spine release. If possible, let your head release. Settle your elbows onto your legs, shins, knees, thighs, and use your arms like brackets to draw your spine long and forward. You can either keep your elbows here, if that helps you feel more stable, especially if your knees are high, your hips are tight. Or if you like, this next time that you exhale, you can take your arms out long in front and fold over and release down. See where you feel stable, like you're not going to roll backwards. And then breathe here. See if you can let go like a flower closing down for the night. Letting go of the weight of your head. Breathing along the length of your spine. There's a lot of courage involved in opening the hips and allowing these tight areas to open. Notice if you're holding tight in your teeth or your tongue. Keep some space in your face. Use your next inhale to push the ground away with your hands, to uncurl your spine, letting your head come up last. And as you come upright, gather up your blocks or your blankets, whatever supports you have for your legs, and bring them underneath so that you're in a comfortable place and your legs feel supported. Your inner thighs don't have to hold the knees up. You can fully release down. When you find that place, if you're covering up with a blanket, put it over your legs, or if you have socks or something to put over your lower body, put that over before you come back, and then ease your way back over the bolster. And as you're coming back, look to see that your knees are the same height. So notice if one knee is higher, one hip is tighter, and if it is, bring the other knee up to match it. Give your pelvis an opportunity to even out by evening out your knees. If you have something to cover your eyes with, put that over your eyes. And then settle your spine onto the bolster. If your low back is not feeling happy, tuck your tail down towards your feet or shift the bolster back. And then take your arms out, maybe even up a little bit. Find the place where you get a stretch, an opening through your upper back and chest. And you have to consciously breathe to stay there. It's a little bit intense. But let your arms relax as much as possible and take the breath into that intensity of opening up the shoulders and the upper back and chest. And then you might find that it changes, that it releases, and your arms can stay there. But if you want to bring them down, once you feel a bit of opening in the chest, then let your arms settle down an easy distance from your sides. At any point, if releasing back over this curve, being in this supported bound angle posture, Supta Baddha Konasana, if this doesn't work for you after all the hip opening that we've done, give yourself permission to release into Shavasana instead. If you're settling over the bolster, allow the muscles along your spine to soften and allow your body to receive the support underneath it. The knees to settle onto the blocks or blankets, the spine to rest on the bolster. And also to take the comfort of any coverings you have over your front body, to settle into the warmth of the blanket, into the darkness of the eye pillow. If you're still actively breathing, let go of your breath. Feeling supported by what's underneath you, what's on top of you, but also feeling supported by the breath moving through you without having to do it. And having given yourself this time and this space, trusting that there's nothing else you need to do, so your mind can rest in the rhythm of the breath. As you allow yourself to rest, dropping into the meaning of Svadisthana, sweetness, or one's own home, one's own abode, having set a foundation for yourself, a place to rest, then accept that support system Allow yourself to drop down. To drop off any distractions, fixations in the mind or the heart, giving yourself permission to be free here, to have that taste of freedom. I'll leave you for a few moments of silence in this stillness, in this place of sweetness that you've found for yourself. And then I'll bring you back out. So until you hear my voice, draw your attention back to your breath in your belly each time you find you've drifted away. If your attention is not already on your breath in your belly, bring your mind back. Notice the flow of your breath coming and going. Begin to deepen your breathing, allowing the belly to expand, the ribs and the chest to open, feeling the breath along your spine, perhaps down into your hips and up into your shoulders. I'm going to make a very easy, gentle transition from this posture into resting on your back with minimal effort. So move one block out of your way and take the opposite knee over towards that knee that just settled onto the ground and roll off the side of the bolster. Move the bolster out of your way so that you can come down onto your back. Lengthen out through your legs, stretching out through the heels of your feet. Lengthen through your arms and through your spine. So you may need to shift your bum down or out. Check internally that you feel symmetrical. Make any adjustments and then settle into the symmetry and the stillness of your body. As you continue to rest another moment, I'll read you a poem by Mary Oliver called The Sunflowers. Come with me into the field of sunflowers. Their faces are burnished discs. Their dry spines creak like ship masts. Their green leaves, so heavy and many, fill all day with the sticky sugars of the sun. Come with me to visit the sunflowers. They are shy, but want to be friends. They have wonderful stories of when they were young, the important weather, the wandering crows. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. Their bright faces, which follow the sun, will listen, and all those rows of seeds, each one a new life. hope for a deeper acquaintance. Each of them, though it stands in a crowd of many, like a separate universe, is lonely. The long work of turning their lives into a celebration is not easy. Come, and let us talk with those modest faces, the simple garments of leaves, the coarse roots in the earth, so uprightly burning. Deepen your breathing, extend your breath down into your legs and your arms, your feet and your hands. Take a stretch through the length of your body and then roll easily over to your right side. Use your arm strength more than your neck strength to bring yourself up from your right side to sitting. If you have your rolled mat handy, use that underneath your sits bones to sit on, or use a block or a blanket so that you elevate your hips above your knees, allowing the knees to release, front thighs and hips to open, and the spine to find its natural curves. And we're working with a prosperity meditation that's extended from what we have been doing. You're bringing your hands into Gyan Mudra, first finger and thumb connected together, the other 3 fingers long, and your forearms parallel to each other and to the ground. This mantra, Heart Hare Hari Wahe Guru, indicates seed, flow, completion unto the ecstatic infinity of God. Take your gaze inwards and upwards towards Ajna chakra, or look down towards the tip of your nose, eyes almost closed. Once you get a sense of the mantra, and you don't need to look outwards, take your gaze inwards. Rolling your R so it sounds almost like a D. Join in as you're ready. Heart Hare Hari Wahe Guru. 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 Heart Hare Hari Wahenguru. 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 Last one. Heart Hare Hari Wahenguru. As you inhale, stretch your fingers out. Lengthen your arms out. Inhale, gather up. Completing the practice by drawing down and in, and drawing down and in what you'd like to carry with you off the mat. Acknowledging yourself for being present, bowing to your light, your divinity. And if you're practicing with anyone else, acknowledging them as well. Namaste.